Terrified, I just watched you, couldn't touch you, now it haunts me.
When I was young, pretty young. I lived in an old farmhouse up in Ivanhoe. I didn't know the backstory of how my parents bought it or what have you, but when I was little I used to see this guy in my room, and it was like a shadow figure, and he had like a brimmed fisherman hat, and it was a long trench coat, and I always see him in my room, and I'd go running into my parents' room, and I'd be sleeping underneath their bed, and they'd be like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "That man's in my room," and they'd be like, "What man?" And I'm like, "Well, the man with the wide brimmed hat." And it was almost like Children of the Corn, wide brimmed hat, like back in the 80s. And so as I got older, my parents never, with kids, parents were like, "Oh, you're just seeing things," or "Oh, it's not there," "Oh, it's fake." And usually when parents tell children that, they tend to lose their sight, their second sight, as they tell it, when they can see things or see ghosts and such. But my parents never brushed it off like that. So, it all stems, I could see things, feel things, plus I'm an empath, so feel things, feel emotions, feel lots of stuff. I do also live in a house. I have a limestone basement, so limestone is a very big connectant to the spirit world, so no Ouija boards in my house or any sort of spiritual things going on other than smudging. So when I first moved into that house, I didn't really do too much digging on it until I had an experience. I moved there in about 2005, and we were moving stuff in, and all of a sudden my husband was working nights, and I heard big honking footsteps coming up the stairs. I thought somebody was breaking into my house because I heard cupboard doors were slamming, and I'm like, okay, I'm barricading myself upstairs in my bedroom, and I'm calling him. I'm like, "Are you home?" And he's like, "No, I'm at work." And I'm like, somebody's in the house. So he rode his bike from downtown Belleville all the way up to the West End, and I was like, "Is there anything?" I'm like, "Careful, the door's barricaded." So he comes in, and I was like, "Anything stolen?" He's like, "No." And I was like, "I don't know, I heard footsteps, and the doors were opening and closing, and oh my goodness." So I did some digging, and the house was built in 1920, and a man and a woman lived there. I had a couple sets of paranormal people come into my home because it didn't stop after that one thing. So they found that there was a man and a woman there. The man was guarding the basement, so I was hearing things, seeing things. Somehow, before the house was built, it was a marshland, and one night I was laying on the couch and I was watching something, and I fell asleep, and I felt a tug on my shirt, and I was like, kind of woke up in a daze, and I looked over, and there's like two blonde-haired children standing right in front of me in Victorian era outfits, and I was just like, okay, wow. Yeah. And they just kind of waved at me, and I was just like, oh, okay. I just fell back asleep, and I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, did I just dream that, or did that just happen? So before that, it was marshland, and then they built the home, and then this man and the woman own the house. So I was like, okay, so I had somebody come in and kind of feel what's going on, because the man in the basement, who was the one that was big heavy footsteps, was very angry all the time, and every time I'd open my basement door, I got to the point where I didn't want to open my basement door because it felt rushed coming like right up my face. I was like, nope, not doing this. So, and one day I remember my husband's tools all lined up down the basement stairs, and I'm like, did you do this? And he's like, no. I was like, okay. They're just all lined up down the stairs. I was like, that's strange. So the paranormal people came in, and clearly the lady, there's a couple pictures. I'll have to try and find them and see if I can show you at some point. The lady was like an old school marm. One of the pictures that they captured was in a TV that wasn't on, so all the electronics, everything was pitch black in my house. They caught a glimpse of a school marm face in one of my TV, like a reflection. She apparently, we found out that she passed away in the house. She was pushed by the man over the balcony, like the stair, like we have an upstairs, so there's a railing. So she was pushed over the railing. So she was pushed way over the railing down the stairs. And that was kind of scary. And apparently I think she was pregnant. So I was like, that's, because they were talking about abdominal trauma. So I'm like, that's a little scary. And the man was very agitated because I still, to this day, I have to find a metal detector because he is guarding something in the basement. But we had to get them to kind of send them on their way because it's just like, you don't need to be here, you need to go.
Was it hard to find the paranormal people? Were they local?
They were local, yeah. I just kind of Googled.
Okay.
And I was just like, oh, okay, yep, I found somebody.
Well, that's handy.
And yeah. But now they seem to be like dispersing. Like, I don't know why, but yeah, it's really hard to find paranormal people now. Now it's just more like word of mouth and who you know. Yeah. But back like in like the millennium, it was more so there was like a couple of teams, but then that person said, oh, I don't really want to do it anymore because it's all volunteer based. If there's no money in it, they just do their time and then they get different jobs. So it's just like, what can you do when there's no money and you have to put money out and gas and time and energy, and then you got to put your team together. I don't think I've experienced anybody that hasn't known that they're dead that has crossed over. And I think the man and the woman that were in my house that crossed over, they were just like protecting what's theirs. They're like, you're in my house, why are you in my house? And why, like, I think they knew, to some degree I think they knew they were dead, but they couldn't figure out why somebody sold their house. And another lady before we moved in was living in that house. And she had to move into a nursing home because she fell outside her house. But I don't think they knew that, figured out, okay, why are you selling our house, and why we got rid of one lady? Why are these new people moving in, and why, we need to protect this. It's protecting what they own, I guess. So until they, figured out, oh, okay, figured out, well, they're not going anywhere. So, I think they had unfinished business is what they call it. So as soon as they figure that out, then they kind of tend to be, and if they don't tend to go away, that's where smudging comes in, because that kind of forces them out the door.
I see.
Yeah, so it's just like a bunch of sage, and that tends to irritate them a lot. So it's just like, you're not going to go, and we asked you nicely to go, so then we're going to tell you to go.